Now, before we get started, I'm not guaranteeing that any of these tips will get your ex back, but if you do follow these steps, you give yourself the best chances. Focus on self-improvement. Implement a period of no contact. The goal is to rebuild attraction and trust by demonstrating growth through learning through past mistakes. After any breakup, your partner's going to want to see that you've been using the pain to grow, not let it get to you. Growth after heartbreak is much more attractive than someone that goes down the opposite route of self-detriment. Just think about it. If you sat back and let the pain consume you, that does far worse than growing. Now, this is an interesting one. Subtly post your improvements. So maybe if you're doing better in general, like maybe your physique has improved or your mental state has improved, you're enjoying your life more, subtly post that online. Don't do it intentionally to try and grab their attention, but just show the world that you're doing better. However, there are a few things in this situation that I would completely avoid doing. Don't plead, don't beg, and don't be in constant contact with your ex. If you do any of those three things, you ruin your long-term chances. You are basically burning a bridge. Some other things that I would very much encourage you not to do is making threats that you're moving on. Another thing is, don't try to argue to win the breakup. Don't feel like you're the one that won the situation. And as a big general rule, if you're really trying to win them back, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, do not fake your self-improvement. If you fake any of it, if they do eventually come back, the old version of you will slip back up. So if patterns haven't changed, if things haven't improved, or your life or your mentality hasn't actually improved in any way, they will pick up on that. And in fact, it does more damage long term because they see that you were lying. Now, on the positive note, when they come back, which most of the time they do, especially to see how you are, make it fun, make it light. Try to make them laugh, make them feel safe around you again. Because when you do that, it encourages them to be like, did I miss something? Like, am I doing the right thing here? And again, it's not a manipulation tactic, but it shows maturity. It shows that you can adapt. It triggers positive memories. It makes them feel good about being around you again, which is why they loved you in the first place. Once you start talking again, if the situation calls for it, apologize. Whether it was you that did something wrong, whether it was them, to let go of the past. If you start making excuses, it makes them feel pressured. You need to slowly rebuild attraction by showing maturity, showing that you can handle conflict better than you did before. Mirror and match their pace. Let them set the tone for how things moving forward. The last thing you want to do is overwhelm them with your presence, with trying to overdo things, making consistent plans, talking a lot about the future. Because what all those things do is it puts pressure on them that they are now back with you and that things have to rush back to the way they were. You don't want to overwhelm them into being in a relationship again, into feeling like everything has to go back to the way it was. You almost want to rebuild the connection from the foundation up. And this is your perfect opportunity to do that. You can make this a very beautiful thing. Now, this next step is very important. Address the issues later on. Don't talk about why the relationship ended, or what your contribution was, or what there was right now. The truth is, you want them to trust you, you want them to feel safe and excited in your presence. The last thing you want is pressure, making them feel overwhelmed, because none of those things do any good. Improvement does a lot of things in this situation. What they want to see is that you have the maturity, you have the emotional intelligence to actually be better after pain. Because how people handle pain is a strong indicator as how strong their character is. If your partner knows they're with a strong person, they're with someone that can turn a bad thing into a good thing, that's very attractive. Take it very slow. Don't try to rush back into the dynamic. Don't try to be around them all the time. Just let it unfold naturally. That's the most beautiful reconnection that can possibly happen, is just two people almost falling in love all over again. And most of the time when it's done right, it's actually stronger than the first time and more beautiful. You don't need to do this next step, but I would strongly advise it if you want it to go well, and that is having a trial period. You want to gradually build up that confidence with being with this person again. Especially if you've had a long gap where you've been alone or you've been surrounded by completely different people, because you want to get familiar with them again. And also you want to make sure that by getting back with them, you're making the right decision for you. Because you may have grown into someone completely different as to who you were when you were with them, and that version of you now no longer fits with them. So when making that decision, you want it to be from a place of clarity. You want them to fully experience the new you, and you also want to experience the new them. This is probably the most important thing out of everything I've said, and it's know when to move on. If you've shown consistent effort, and they know how you feel, but maybe they're just not as interested anymore. Respect their decision and move on. Just be open-minded to the fact that it might happen. It might not happen at all, but in the off chance that it does, you have to be prepared for it. A lot of us lose hope in relationships when they end because we think that's it, it's gone forever. Like, I'm never going to find anyone like this again, or, it's just them. Like, you want them back. But I think two things to remember is that there are other people in the world that will love you the same or more, potentially. And two, you don't need anyone. You really don't need anyone. We always think that when we break up or get broken up with, that's the end. All the bridges are burnt. But that couldn't be any more false. Sometimes there are hiccups. Sometimes things happen. People learn. They reconcile. They become stronger. And it works better the next time around. Sometimes we do break up for reasons that we can't see because we're not supposed to, and it ends. That's also fair. It does happen. But just know that you'll be okay. I mean, I can tell you from experience, if you've grown massively in the time that you spent alone from this person, you know that you have the mental strength to move on. I know you've got this. You've got this. You can do it 100%. It's not as hard as it seems. I think it's just about having maturity and understanding what to do and when. So I hope that these tips in this video at least gave you some guidance, some hope or reassurance that, one, you'll be okay no matter what, and two, that there is a real chance that you can get them back.